Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
For the final time this season, the stars of the Kellymoss KLÜB iRacing Championship take to the track in the 2026 Winter Series. This time, it's a newer track to the service and one I've been looking forward to watching these drivers on the most. For the most part, most of your championships are done, dusted, sealed, signed, delivered. However, there's one or two we're still watching out for, and it's all going to come down to the drops and who finishes where tonight. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you're watching the Kellymoss KLÜB iRacing Championship around the world on the Kellymoss YouTube channel. My name is Jeremy Scott, Tristan Herbst alongside, and Jim Cunningham back in the booth, bringing you the sights and sounds of one of the most historic racing circuits in all of North America. Tristan, this is a track that has seen many iterations, many series, but one thing is for certain. The fans love this racetrack, and it's easily one of the top three places a driver wants to win at.
No, absolutely so, Jeremy. I mean, look, even looking from this track, just from the track map we're provided here on our screens, and just from a couple of the camera shots we're seeing around track, it's very clear as to why there's so much traction that gets pulled along with this track. I mean, it's a very technical circuit, loads of concrete barriers left and right of each driver. And I mean, we've obviously been monitoring the prediction smack talk from all our drivers here at Kellymoss, and I've really seen so much talk about hitting these walls from some of the drivers, and that's what they're predicting in between each other here for today's racing. So I'm very excited to see it. I don't think you get many race circuits where there's an active roller coaster going over your head as you progress around. So very excited to see what the drivers do here at Long Beach. But like you say, it is the saddening news of the final round of the season. We get to close things up here today, which is both a good thing and a bad thing, because it means it's the last time we get to see you on a Tuesday.
Well, let's take a look at points. It's Wednesday, Tristan. I know it's you've been up for 24 hours now. You and I did the Fox Texas series last.
What am I saying?
Good. Drink some more coffee. I'll take a look at. I'll read the points off for you as we take a look at our pro championship, and that's one of the ones that's really done and dusted so far. As Aaron John's song, all he has to do is really start, and the championship is his. Now, here's the rules. It is 8 races, we take 3 away. So John Song has run all but one race, and he's won all but one race, to say the least. So he will walk out of here with the inaugural Pro Championship. Lake McGovern, Lonnie Unser's back after a brief stint at the Chicago Auto Show. She sits third in points. Caden Kelly Griff Asplund, and Erica Hoffman, the only drivers who we have seen in the Pro Championship. Let's go to the Club Championship. We'll save the Team Championship for last because that's a big one right there. Joseph Holman, it might be a little tight with the drops. Holman and Castillo right now are 1 and 2. Fleerman's third. But you take a look at those three, they're separated by 7 points. Sorry, they're separated by 44 points. I was looking at the wrong one, go figure. So Holman, Castillo, and Fleerman all tight within that. So we'll see if Castillo, Fleerman can kind of round out each other. On to VIP, it's going to be Dan Clark most likely, and it all depends on what happens with this race. As you see, Dan Clark, Peter Mackay, and Ryan Marine, the only 3 VIP drivers. I talked to Ryan, and he said, look, I'm knee-deep in St. Petersburg prep, so he'll be in St. Petersburg with the IndyCar Radio Network. Sad to see Ryan not here, but I have a feeling he'll be around if we do this more often. And then let's take a look at the big the 600-pound gorilla in the room. It is our team championship. That's where you see 7 points separates Harder, Warder, and Lemkool. Those 3 have been all at it all season long. However, if I'm looking at my notes right, Jacob Harder's not had a win all season, so that's quite kind of interesting. The only 2 who haven't had a win are Warder and Cameron Cool, but this is where it's going to go down to the wire. This is where it's going to go down to drop points. Tristan, is this team championship. It's been close all season long. No surprise that we're looking before the drops at 7 points separating your top 3.
There's a pretty interesting metric, though, to see from Jacob Harder up on the top currently of the team division. And like you mentioned, absolutely 0 race wins so far this season. So consistently has definitely paid off there for the driver. He's managed to plant himself there in first. But as you mentioned, 6 points of a difference from himself and Nathan Warder. And then that 2-point difference is going to be even more crucial for those that second position spot on that podium. Ted Burns is also not too far away. I mean, he's about 22, 24 or so points away here. And I see he is here today for racing. He hasn't been here for the past 2 or 3 rounds, but he is here for the last round of the Kellymoss KLÜB iRacing Championship. So maybe he can throw a spanner in the works here as well. Who knows? That's the exciting parts about finales, is that you do see a couple of the drivers who don't have all the time in the world to come and attend every single round. They'll make sure that for the finale, they are here indeed to make sure that it sticks and that they get it done and dusted. The beautiful dolphin statue or fountain being displayed up in the middle there. The drivers get to see that as they swing around the track. But for the time being, 12 minutes into our qualifying session, and we're talking about it. Joseph Holman currently up with a 1:18.7.
So while we're still in qualifying, let's go take a quick lap around the wonderful Long Beach circuit. And with it being a street circuit, we can actually use street names. Yeah, the front straightaway is you take the run down short line drive. It's a long run. And Aaron, you might want to pay attention to this because you're going to be racing here later on this year with the Porsche Career Cup North America. As you see, a long run. The start-finish line is just at the start, coming off of the hairpin, but you slam heavy on the brakes, click down a couple clicks, hang the hard left into the fountain section through Aquarium Way, and then 2 and 3. You really got to be really careful here. We did see some mess-ups there in practice, and then the hard right-hander at turn 4. I think that's the most important corner of this entire fountain section. That sets you up for 5. You take the opposite run down Shoreline Drive and then go all the way down into turn 6. As you can see, a lot of prime passing opportunities here around Long Beach. You take the left-hander, and then you got, that's a double apex. You have 6 and 7, which goes uphill on South Pine Avenue. Then you hang a right onto Seaside Way, the long back straightaway, which you go under buildings, and that's what makes this track so unique. Much like Monaco, you do have to go under some sort of buildings. Then you go hard braking zone, turn 9. A lot of drivers will end up in the tire wall there during practice and the race, and then through the parking lot in 10, and the hard right-hander in turn 11, the hairpin. This is where you see all the stack up, especially in starts and restarts, and then down Shoreline Drive for a lap. 1.9 miles of Long Beach, California. This is absolutely going to be a fantastic race.
Yeah, absolutely so. And I mean, we've already seen a bit of a preview of this track. You've seen a couple of these corners and exactly how compacted they are, especially that hairpin leading back onto the start-finish straight, and a couple of the heavy breakers as well that we really have to keep our eye on here in today's racing, because it is going to be a crucial factor, especially in that team championship, where the points are currently very much still to play for. Like we mentioned, the Pro is pretty much done and dusted, with Aaron Johnson being nicely up on top there. And with that final drop round that can probably still come in, things will change up slightly. But for that team championship, with all of them being only 2 to 3 points of a difference, even just one position change is going to be enough for these drivers to gain an advantage. And so that's why it's going to be crucial yet today. Even though it's a street circuit, it's technical, it's difficult. They've got to make sure that they are planted in these Porsche 992s. They've got to make sure their head is in the game. They're here to make the most of it, because it is the final round that they get to do so here. And I mean, we've looked at it. This is not any small league that we've seen where it's just great, you get a small win. There's a lot of good and juicy prizes up for grabs here at Kellymoss that the drivers do get themselves, from succeeding at winning a championship here.
Only fastest, you see him on camera, 18.702, the fastest lap so far. We've not seen Unser, Clark, or Jung Song on the track as of yet. I thought that was a Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles. Come on, guys. All right. So while we have a little bit of downtime in this qualifying session, earlier this week, the team announced 3 cars for their 2026 SRO GT World Challenge America lineup. And really, it's a stout lineup, to say the least. In the 017, it'll be a good friend of ours, Michael Clark, alongside Colin Braun. So it's going to be interesting to see those two line up. And I know watching Michael really develop over the past couple of years, this is going to be a huge step up for him. And having Colin Braun alongside in the car is absolutely awesome. Car 13 will be Riley Dickinson and Todd Perriott. And number 88, that's another one I'm really excited about. Luke Hartog and John Gilliland makes his jump from Porsche Sprint Challenge into GT World Challenge America. So that is going to be interesting 3-car assault here for Kellymoss this season in SRO World Challenge. You can catch that throughout the season on GT World. But once again, Kellymoss just doesn't miss with their pro lineups.
Yeah, it's great to see that they're just continuously scaling on their real-life events. And I mean, we've seen what they can do in terms of online events here at Apex Racing TV, and it just proves to show that they've got their stuff even more together up on the real life side of things. So great to see them pushing up strong feats there in the SRO Championship, and can't wait to see what they can do. I mean, we've got an entire year ahead of us here for 2026. We're only just breaching into March, which is not gonna lie to you, it's quite scary to think that it's already March on Sunday. This year is absolutely flying past us already. But still lots and lots of time for good racing, whether it's in real life or here on the virtual tracks. And that's what we're hoping to see here tonight. 3 minutes left of this qualifying session. And currently, like you mentioned, a couple of the top runners that we're usually, used to seeing up at the top, Dan Clark, Aaron Johnson, currently no lap time set from those two drivers. So Holman leads it out with a 1:18.7. Ted Burns, like I mentioned, he might be a bit of a spanner in the works there for that team division. And he currently sits in second with a 1:18.8. So Lemcool, Harder, and Water, the 3 drivers as well who are competing for that championship lead, have got to watch out for Burns there, because he could come in as an unknown variable for this final round.
Well, we know how quick Ted Burns is on the track. We've seen him up at the front, of course, this season so far. 2 wins over 2 poles. And he's very light when it comes to the incidents as well. So we'll see what the number 81 can do. There's the Burgermobile working his way around the circuit. Nathan Ward with the fastest driver of the track on the track so far in tow, with Joseph Holman, who now gets out in front, headed down into turn number 9, down the back straightaway. We'll see what happens. Again, 18.545, the fastest time of this session. And we've not seen Unser, Clark, or John Song. So I did see John Song, and Tristan, unfortunately, he has a 992. So the request to put him in a Club Sport GT4 was denied.
Well, maybe he felt bad for us, right? Maybe he really did see our pain from seeing this man absolutely pace the grid. And I don't think he's going to take qualifying yet today, Jeremy. I think he's going to be starting himself from the backside of the grid. He may even just started from the pit lane. Depends on what he's feeling like, whatever tickles his fancy. And so we'll have to wait and see what we see on the grid in a couple of minutes' time. But it definitely doesn't look like Aaron Johnson nor Dan Clark will be getting any form of qualifying laps in here. So they'll be doing a bit of a last to first challenge. We saw it at Virginia International that Dan Clark attempted it. and he got pretty close up to that podium spot. I think it was second or third, if my memory serves me correctly. So let's see what they can do here today. I feel like it's a bit more of a technical circuit, slightly shorter in terms of physical track distance, but a lot more technical in terms of what the drivers have got to work with here. They've also got no runoffs whatsoever. Well, you know, there's a couple of the runoffs into the heavy, end of straight breakers, but it's nothing major like loads of grass and gravel like we see on our wide extension tracks like Virginia International. This is closed barrier racing at its finest here at Long Beach, and it's definitely going to prove as a challenge for all our drivers here today.
Really well, as you see Peter Mackay coming down the straightaway, tight up against those barriers. 1:19.5 his fastest time of the session, and he won't get much more out of that car as the session is coming to a close. Checkered flag is out, and everybody has taken it. So Holman and Burns will be your provisional front row. We'll go through the grid here in just a little bit, but no, it's going to be interesting to see what Johnson, Unser, and Clark can do. You've heard in Lonnie, I've talked to her. She said she's still pretty green at iRacing, you know, so you can kind of say she's one of the more old school drivers and learning tracks when you get there and do the track walk, but she's still learning, which is absolutely fantastic. I'm excited to see the battle we've been waiting for all season long, and that's the Johnson-Clark battle.
Yeah, the Johnson-Clark battle indeed, and I hope that they can keep with each other because they'll be starting from a similar position. Yeah, it's not the easy leap that we've seen Johnson get up in the front and allowing him to pull away all of his strengths and essentially pacing the rest of the grid and not allowing them any chance for the likes of Dan Clark, who tends to start at the back for a couple of these rounds. So they'll both be starting at the back here, and I feel like they've done this on purpose. Like I said, they've made it interesting for us to see what could possibly go on. I do see as we keep on going on. I'm not too sure. Jim was mentioning something there. I thought he was mentioning someone joined the racing session, but I'm not seeing a new name anywhere. But 1 minute, Caleb Hermson. Oh, he did. Yeah, Caleb Hermson is indeed here. He was live on cameras, which is why I didn't see his name pop up.
It's I think it's their biggest grid of the season, to say the least. So hopefully,
definitely.
Yeah, I think it is because it's 13 cars. So we'll see how this fares out, and hopefully, some of these other drivers that were said that they would do it will see the fun that we had. I know that, like I said, I was talking to Ryan Marie. He goes, I hope you guys are going to have fun. I go, yeah, we're going to have fun because we have seen nothing but fantastic racing all season long, up and down the grid. And I think Long Beach is just going to kind of put that peg that meter up just a little bit longer. We're going to be able to take the knob to 11 and rip it off because that's how much fun we're going to have tonight.
Yeah, a league is good, and you know that the racing quality is great when we can have 9 cars out on grid and still keep everything flowing as it should be, as if we've got a good 20 to 30 chunk size grid. And I mean, it only comes with the drivers who are, able to give us those quality battles that last quite a while. Oh, there goes Mr. Anthony Castillo finding the rear side of that Porsche. That's the first spin I've seen so far here today at Long Beach. Let's hope we don't see too many replications there in the live racing session. But as I mentioned, in all the previous rounds of racing, and like Jeremy's mentioned, this is probably our biggest grid, which is great stuff for us because we've seen what these drivers can do on 9 cars. We're now at 14 cars. So an additional 5 cars to play with here. I think it's going to be quite a great race and a much more narrower circuit. It's going to be quite a bit of action-packed racing.
There we go. Of course, also you have, drivers who've been here all season long, and they know what these drivers are all about. Checkered Flag's out on this warm-up session. Nobody really gathering a lap time except that's Fleerman. 21.222, not a big deal. So the session is over, and we are going to grid the cars up on the back straightaway. So let's take a look at that grid. Is once again Joseph Holman, your pole sitter for tonight. He'll be alongside Ted Burns, row 2, Carl Lemkool and Maxwell Fleerman, with row 3, Anthony Castillo and Peter Mackay.
Yeah, Blake McGovern sits a little bit further back in 7th position for the lead of the pros. And Caleb Hermanson, like we mentioned, just joining in there before the start of this race. Down in 8th, you will go Jacob Harder will be taking 9th. Nathan Warder will be taking 10th position. And Cameron Cool in 11th as well. Following them is Mr. Aaron Johnson one of the fastest drivers out on the circuit, starts from the back end, followed by Lonnie Unser. And Dan Clark will be at the backside of this 14-car grid. So Aaron Johnson, Dan Clark, watch out for those two as they climb back up for the remainder of this race. But we're officially A4 away here, and our grid is slowly moving towards that start-finish line.
And it looks like Lonnie Unser will be taking the pit lane start, which, that's pretty smart to do, especially on a track that really not many, if any. I think the only driver who has real experience here is Dan Clark in the Champ Car World Series. Of course, those are with, sexy Lolas and Paynoses and, oh, God, what a fantastic series that is. It is missed every day. Don't get me wrong. It's great we have a decent North American open wheel series, but nothing beats here in those screaming Cosworth V8s up and down the track as Holman and Burns warm their tires up in row 1. Row 2, you've got Fleerman and Lemkool making their way around. Porsche pace car makes his way around turn number 9, sets up for 10, and this is going to be an interesting section. Let's hang on this hairpin, because even now someone could mess it up and block the whole track, and then we have a good old-fashioned LA style backup, and everybody so far making their way around, making the exit. Pace car will be coming into the pits, and indeed it is. Everybody nice and tight, and this is one of the tightest starts that we've seen all season long. Thanks for joining us here on the Kellymoss channel. We are green as Joseph Holman and Ted Burns are side by side. Lemkool's going to go look around the outside. They're side by side. This is about the time we start to see 2-3 wide action as Lonnie Unser is tail end Charlie there. Still two side by side headed into the tightest section of racing, that is into Aquarium Way.
Yeah, around the fountain section they go now, and the grid order standing pretty much the same. Peter Mackay is fighting himself, fighting alongside McGovern there, and just trying to chase up on Castillo, and there he gets it now. Peter Mackay, great diving move up on the inside. Unfortunately, it's left Castillo vulnerable, and McGovern's claimed from it as well. No, the burger's gone around. Nathan Water faces backwards on the track, and he'll be all the way at the back right now, unfortunately. Lonnie Unser, unfortunately, not coming out of the pit lane, so it looked like a pit lane start, but turned out to just not be an exit whatsoever. But Blake McGovern has now claimed one position. He's trying to claim yet another now. Onto the inside of Peter Mackay he will go, looking to try and make a move up on the inside of the VIP class runner here. Remember that Blake McGovern does have the lead currently for the pros, and if he keeps this, he might be able to get himself a win if Johnson can't climb fast enough.
Oh, a little slide by McGovern. He's into the wall, so that's going to give John Song the pro lead as the climb through the field is almost complete. Up 5 is John Song. Dan Clark still sitting back there, and he's trying to get around Blake McGovern here for position. It looks like that he is close to that. So the teacher trying to show the student how to get around Long Beach as he dives to the inside, and McGovern going to shut the front door on him as they work their way into the fountain section once again. Holman still with the lead. Ted Burns second. Max Fleerman in third. Peter Mackay still your VIP leader. And this battle between Clark and McGovern, and Mackay doesn't know what's going on yet, but he's probably going to be loving this if he hears that, hey, your second place driver is way back in the field.
Yeah, he's got a long running. Yeah, I really shouldn't have spoken about McGovern there because he's lost out. And now Johnson takes the lead of the Pro Championship and climbs up into 7th position after just 2 laps. Dan Clark has not been as fortunate, though. And they were relatively side by side on the first lap, Clark and Johnson. But unfortunately, Clark remains down in 11th. And like you say, Peter Mackay is going to be smiling on that fact because he remains in 5th position right now. And he's obviously gaining a couple of positions. He moved up on Castillo, and now he's just continuing to extend that gap to Dan Clark a bit further behind. Back up towards the top, though. Ted Burns is not able to get past the likes of Joseph Holman, and he'll have to watch out for Maxwell Fleerman behind, who's now taken over from his teammate of Carl Lemkool in 4th. And so there can no longer be a couple of team plays. I mean, they've got a bit of an Oreo sandwich there around the likes of Maxwell Fleerman, but we'll have to see what he can do. But for the time being, it is still Holman who leads this race for the starting 2 laps here, and his job is just to stay consistent and try and get it home.
Well, of course, a lot of the drivers were worried about the walls and how they love to come out and bite. This is one of those sections that we mentioned is a danger section. And of course, the curbing, it's no better either. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. Holman opens up a little bit bigger gap this time, headed down shoreline once again as they work their way. And here's the thing. Here's what I love about Long Beach. You see the undulations, the bumps, everything that you normally see on TV. Yeah, it's like this right now. John Song still in 7th place. We're watching this 4-car train going down the back straightaway. There's the other train with Mackay, Castillo, and John Song there. John Song just happy sitting where he's at. And like we said, this is going to be the first time. Here he goes to the inside. Dives deep, and I think he took a little bit of body work with him, but either way, move Aaron John Song to the point. He is your pro leader once again, and now he sets his sights on Peter Mackay, your VIP leader.
A great courageous dive from Johnson, and as you were mentioning that he looked like he was remaining a bit at bay, he decides to make the jump. He sees the gap, he sees the opportunity, and moves up into 6th position. Now onto the backside of Peter Mackay, and then he's only got 4 positions up that he's got to try and climb to get the pole of this race. And I think it's going to be possible for him. I think, like Jeremy mentioned, he's unfortunately not in a GT4 class car. He's in the GT3, he's in the 992, and so he's carrying the exact same speed around circuit as all the rest of these drivers, even though he's pretty much alienated compared to the rest, Mr. Aaron Johnson. And so he's climbing up that grid order quite progressively. But one thing to mention here for Long Beach is that they do have the correct car pick in terms of GT3 class. The Porsche having its engine positioned all the way in the rear will assist it slightly with front end taps, especially against those hard walls. The front engine cars would feel the impact slightly more, especially if you have a bit of a good bash against one of these concrete walls. Front engine placement cars would definitely feel that, and your engine might take a bit of a tanking and a beating. But yeah, with the Porsches, it's all in the rear. So up in front is just suspension and chassis that you would be damaging. So you can afford to get a few more bumps up in front without sacrificing any form of raw performance. Just don't go backwards into the wall. Otherwise, that could be a crucial bit of damage for in this race.
You don't want to, hit the front either, because that's where the radiators are. So think about that one as well. By the way, John Song up to 5th, gets around Peter Mackay and makes quick work of him. Ted Burns comes across the line, fastest lap of the race. It's 18.941 out of the team leader right now. There he is. He's still trying to play. I think he's trying to play with Holman just a little bit. Not ready to make a move just yet. Of course, we're just about 6 minutes into this 40-minute race, so you don't want to really wear out your stuff this early in the going, because 40 minutes around here is an absolutely long, treacherous time, especially if you're not used to running these street circuits. There's only a handful of them here on the iRacing service. So yeah, kudos to these guys for coming in here and attacking this track the best that they can. Of course, you see Fleerman and Lemkool kind of backed off just a little bit, so a little bit of a split there. But here's the thing, Johnson has about 3.7 seconds to catch up to that battle for 3rd place, and if he continues to run what he has in traffic, he's running 19.724. Let's hang with John Song. I want to see what he's doing this time by, because I know he's using this as a test session for the Porsche Carrera Cup North America Championship later on this year, when the Acura Grand Prix of Long Beach will be held. Driver, the number 25, comes across the line, 19.724, and yeah, I like that, 18.360. So it's only going to be a matter of time before John Song enters himself into the conversation for 3rd.
Yeah, Blake McGovern seems to have had a bit of an issue. This was a bit of a replay, and that's Stan Clark behind him. The likes of Jacob Harder up in front of him. So this is into the left hand, into a right hand. Unfortunately, there comes a bit of the rear grip loss yet again, and that's the second incident we've seen Blake McGovern have here in today's racing. Very unfortunate to see him go around. Fortunately, no wall contact, so all the parts remain nicely attached on that Porsche, but he's dropped quite drastically down the grid order here. 11 positions, 11th place currently from where he started up in front, so he's not going to be too chuffed about that one. He was hoping to maintain the lead of the pro class, and unfortunately that dissipated in quite a quick span of time. But we're looking at about 30 to 35 minutes of 30 to 35 laps of racing here, probably even less. It's about 1 minute and 20 seconds of a lap time on this Aaron Johnson. It's about 1 minute and 18 seconds, and that's it's a good 9 or so tenths faster than the drivers up in front. But we are looking at a 71 degrees Fahrenheit average ambient temperature over here. and slightly even higher on that track temp, around about 80 degrees or 90. Apologies, my screen's gone slightly blurry and I can't see if that's an 8 or a 9, but still relatively high. It's an 80 degrees Fahrenheit out on track, so a relatively nice high temperatures here around Long Beach, and so the drivers will have to maintain those cars for the remainder of this race.
You sure it's just coffee you got in there?
Might be more.
I like your style. Battle for ninth heats up with Harder, trying to hold off Speedy Dan for position. Now, again, this is not for in-class battle. This is out-of-class battle. And looking at, even if Harder does let Clark by, Dan still got 5 seconds to try and catch up on Peter Mackay. The fact that Dan decided to use this race to start at the back was very helpful for the actual Brit that's showing that he's from the UK. Of course, we all know Dan's from the UK as well.
Yeah, so the battle of the UK is over here. Peter Mackay's just got the official listing of it here in this session, but I mean, if you've watched any of the previous rounds, you know Dan Clark in the commentary box definitely doesn't have that American accent, and I got that a lot more raw UK style accent, but that doesn't prevent him from getting those lap times in. And like we mentioned, it's going to be a quite a long battle for him here, because I don't think it's going to be as easy as overtakes as the other tracks where he started from the backside. It's going to be a much more complicated time around here trying to get these overtakes made. And obviously he's got Harter and Hermanson up in front. They're not going to give free positions away here to Dan Clark just because he's in another division. They're going to fight it out. This is the last round. It's the time for the drivers to get all their possible track time out there. And so even if it's not a fight for division, they'll definitely be fighting each other just for the fun of it here for the last round.
No, and Hermanson and Hart have really proved how good that they've been so far this season. Remember that Hermanson really came onto his own last week as his first ever week. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he got the win last week. I don't have that in my points. So really, he showed how good he can be. Of course, you know, with Ted Burns not in the field, that's what made things just a little bit easier. But either way, Dan's going to have a battle on his hands between Harder and Hermanson once he does really get into battle. Of course, this is not an area where you want to pass because you know how slippery it is with it being a regular everyday parking lot back onto Shoreline around the hairpin. And that's one thing I've got to say. We're a quarter of the way into this race, so I can finally say it. With everybody bunched up, we had such a good run through the hairpin because nobody really ran into each other.
Yeah, I'm glad to see that. That would have been quite an intense pack up here, especially with such a small grid. It would have kind of put our entire race on hold for quite a bit. So I'm glad nobody's done that. And I've seen a lot of clips on YouTube before where we see GT3s piling up into that hairpin, just not taking the hairpin correctly and not enough space for the drivers behind to get past the car that's made an error. And then you just have this whole cascading element of cars getting stuck behind each other, and it completely stops the racing flow. But I like we say, I mean, the racing quality is just so good here at Kellymoss that these drivers, there's no shot that they'd make a mistake like that through the hairpins. They're fighting each other so consistently here, and it's so great to see as well. Just so much fighting out there. And here we have Mr. Johnson, currently the only driver with the orange timing time on the live timing star up on the left-hand side. So that represents under 0.5 of a distance to the driver up in front. So that's Lemcool up ahead that he's going to be fighting against. And that's going to be an imminent overtake if you have to ask me. Johnson is going to plan it correctly, but it is going to come soon. The lunge up on the inside from the black Porsche 992 trying to get up into P number 1.
And already it looks like Johnson has had a little bit of kiss with the wall. You take a look at the left front, and it's a little scraped up. So Johnson easily finding the limits. It's better to find the limits here than it would be to find the limits during practice when that does happen in April. So, oh, yep, there goes another one. Yep. And I think he's probably going to log that in the back of his mind, saying, you know, I shouldn't take that much as he goes deep into the inside. Makes easy work of Lemcool.
You just saw the powder grinding out from in between his car and the wall there, just from the friction being created on the backside of Johnson. But like you say, this is a bit of a practice for him for the real life event that comes slightly later on in the year. And so this is just for him to get the practice in and ensure that he is all nice and ready for that real life event. And so, he can hit all the walls that he's willing to today, because it's just going to teach him where those track limits are. So it's just always a good amount of practice. And it shows you the level of the level of technicality we're working with here on the iRacing platform that we race on, that how closely matched it is, that real life drivers use it for proper practice. And like you mentioned, with Long Beach, every bump, every characteristic of this track from real life is brought to you here at iRacing. And so it is a great platform for all of our drivers who get to race here in real life. They get a 100% replica to practice all their skills out here and ensure that they don't make those wall taps when it comes to the real event.
And here, yeah, exactly. You don't want to be knocking on the walls too hard in real life. But once again, John Song is going to use the run to turn 6 as his personal playground, and he's going to dive into third place. Now, but look at Fleerman fighting back, heading into turn number 8, as John Song's going to dive just a little bit deeper and start to open up that gap even more, in spite of Fleerman and Lemcool taking that draft. It's a little defensive line that John Song is using, as here comes Lemcool to the inside of Fleerman. Not going to make anything happen as they both go nose to tail through the parking lot section, and then they'll take the hairpin. Let's see if anyone... Oh, that's a bump around the hairpin. You don't see that too often, as John Song now gets on the lob pedal, and he sets his sights on Burns and Holman. The gap is 4 seconds. We've got a third of the race in. I think it's going to be close.
Definitely going to be a close one. It's all going to be, especially the battle that goes up front, because like we mentioned, Burns is pushing very aggressively onto the backside of Holman up in front. And if they do begin to fight a little bit too hard, it's going to give the likes of Johnson a very easy run to try and contest for that top spot of the podium. But like you mentioned, that gap is still indeed about 4 seconds or so. And it's not really increasing or decreasing as of right now. So the driver's keeping it pretty static. I mean, Johnson's last, 119.2, much slower than his fastest, and obviously that's due to the overtakes he's made. And then Ted Burns and Joseph Holman around 118.8, 119. So they both lapped faster last lap, but like I mentioned, it was the overtake that came in. Here's another incident that's happened out on track. This is Cameron Cool, and coming down one of the straights into the left-hander, the playground for the likes of Johnson. It looks like just too much taken there on the outside line, and rear end loss yet again for the Porsche.
And that's about that point where that rear end starts getting light, so no surprise that Cameron Cool had that issue. However, we're watching this battle for the lead. Ted Burns, he keeps getting close, but not able to make anything happen. But look who's lurking in the background. It's Aaron Johnson. You could almost hear the Jaws scene being played. No, that's not because of what's going on at the Bay. It's because the man who has been at the top all season long is circling the Queen Mary and trying for an attack at the lead.
Yeah, 2.7 seconds already. He's dropped that by an entire second in one lap, and like I mentioned, that was probably going to happen. He's got no more overtakes he needs to do in that short span with chasing onto the backside of Ted Burns. Here's Dan Clark making a pass now on Jacob Harder a little bit further behind, and then up ahead he's got Caleb Hermanson, which he still needs to try and get ahead. So it's going to be red versus red, which Porsche is going to be better, and there's his overtake on the likes of Jacob Harder. So he moves up one, but he does still have the car up in front of Hermanson, and I did indeed check. He did win last week, Jeremy, so he won in class, but still, that's a lot to prove for joining his first race here at Kellymoss, and then grabbing himself a win. Like we mentioned, Burns and Lemcool weren't there, but still, a win nonetheless is an impressive suite for this driver.
No, it really is. And that's, a win your first time out really cements that, hey, I'm here to play. But look at how many drivers have won this year in the team championship. It's 6 drivers, with Ted Burns, the most with 2 wins, the only driver with 2 wins on the season here. So really, it's anybody's race, and I'm sure that Harder, being the points leader right now, would love the win, but he's mired back in the field just a little bit. I've got to say, Dan Clark is really trying to work on Hermanson just a little bit, but he's not making it easy for him, especially here in the Fountain area. as they work their way around once again. This is the battle for 8th place overall. Not a class battle because Peter Mackay, he's almost 10 seconds ahead of Dan Clark, and the laps that both of those drivers have been running, they've been running close to fast laps together. I've got to say this, Mackay's really doing quite well for himself today.
Yeah, definitely so. I mean, if we're looking at his lap times, he's practically setting identical lap times right now to the likes of Dan Clark. And so that battle, that chase for Dan Clark is not going to be as easy as you would have thought it would have been. And Peter Mackay compared to the likes of Aaron Johnson, okay. So, I mean, Peter Mackay's last 119.5, Johnson's last was 118.0. So Johnson is on some other thing. He's got some jet fuel in there right now, and he is on an absolute chase of note to get onto that podium spot. And talking about it, he's now 7/10 behind the likes of Burns. So that battle is imminent for the podium switch arounds, and all three of them up in front are actually within the attacking distance of each other. Burns is now right on the backside of Holman, and Johnson just a bit further behind. Yes, still Peter Mackay down in 6th position, but there we go. Up in the top fights, you can see the top three are now neck and neck with each other. Holman will hold it for this podium spot right now up in front. It is then Burns and Johnson, and we know what Johnson can do. He has been lapping some tremendous laps to catch up here to the front two, and now the objective is simple: get past and stay ahead.
So I'm looking here at Dan Clark's Wikipedia page, and what do I see? Luscious Locks Dan Clark. Remember those days in Champ Car where he had like probably it was he and Nelson Philippe that were competing for the best locks of hair in the championship?
You're asking me a question I have absolutely zero idea about, so I'm unfortunately not sure. That if you're new to Kellymoss, this is the 7th time I think in counting where I've been thrown into the pit by Jeremy, but it's great. It's a good learning experience for some of those off-track events. But what I always do is I make it awkward and I'll play, all right, cool, back to the racing action though, with Ted Burns.
Back to the racing.
Exactly. I mean, it is a good point to look at though, because the top three are about to start attacking each other. So.
Yeah, so we'll watch this battle, but here are the best finish. Here are the finishes. He raced here 3 times, twice with Champ Car and once with Indy Next, which was Indy Lights at the time. So the best finish that Dan had was in 11th, and that was his first year with CTE HVM Racing. Then in 07 with the DPO1s, he finished 15th, and then in the Indy Next series, he finished 13th. Yes, Indy Light series. I know what. Trust me, it kills me to say Indy Next as well. But either way, what's not killing me is watching this battle between Holman, Burns, and Johnson. We're past halfway, and it took Johnson that long to go up 9 places. All you can do is laugh. And like I said, this is just testing for him. As Ted Burns goes to the inside, a little bit of a rump there, and Holman's going to lose 2 places. Here comes Johnson to the inside. He takes the lead.
And there we go. Johnson bringing off that absolute masterclass of a drive, and up into P1 he will go. And the virtual grandstand is 100% in agreement. Everyone's saying Johnson is ridiculous. Johnson is focus power right now. And this man is on an absolute mission to get up in front. That is officially a last to first, pretty much completed. And in half the amount of time that he had available, 21 minutes. And we can officially stop the clock. He's up into P1. And I don't think he's going to get overtaken again. 7/10 already generated between himself and Holman. And now this is going to be the extension game for him. How much can he extend from the two in behind him? 2nd and 3rd from Holman and Burns now. It is going to be Johnson just trying to create that gap and drive a comfortable race for the final one. He had Kellymoss. And if we didn't think that the championship was confirmed, it's 150% confirmed now for Johnson.
It'll be interesting to see if we can get a replay of that incident, because that was, I mean, here's the thing. That could not have fallen into Aaron's lap as well as it has, as now he's opened up a 1-second gap, and here it is. You see going through the building, a little strange, but that's iRacing. Here comes Burns to the inside, and that kind of set everything off. I think Ted figured, you know what, it's time for me to go, but that exit hampered him, where Holman was able to get back around.
Yeah, just had to pop in and look at all the morning people here alongside the Long Beach circuit brushing their teeth as we breach through one of the apartment windows. Totally legal for racing action. But hey, it's all for the camera shots, am I right? And we've been able to get it neatly over here, and Johnson will still be, just extending this gap now. I was going to say, maybe it was different after the replay. Maybe he's made a mistake somewhere. No, he is not. And he's even preventing touching that wall on the left now. So he's learning actively from the mistakes he's made slightly earlier. Obviously, we pointed it out that he's been scraping a couple of the walls here. And seems like he's completely changed it around now. 1.7 seconds of the gap already built up to the likes of Joseph Holman and Ted Burns. And this is it. I think, Jeremy, this is the last time we might see the black Porsche. It's going to run away now, and it's probably not going to come back.
Yeah. It's right here, Aaron say, hi, bye. Now he's all the way gone, but we're still watching this great battle between Fleerman and Lemkool. That is the battle of the race so far, as it's 0.3 of a second separating the two drivers. This is an out-of-class battle. Fleerman in the club class, Lemkool in the team class, and that's the thing. What's going to be interesting here is to see how these drivers can really leverage these exits, especially off the hairpin. You saw Fleerman just get back on the gas just a little bit faster. Lemkool a little apprehensive off that, but here's the thing. Lemkool's not hooking up in the draft like he should to close in. He's waiting for those braking zones. He just needs to make sure he slows down enough through the apex to get a better exit, because that's where Fleerman is getting Lemkool right there.
Yeah, exactly so. And it all comes down to the different driving styles of all these drivers. There you can see a Cole. Okay, I think that was a bit of an error. Of course, as soon as I want to mention driving styles, I think that Cole did make a bit of an error there onto the entrance of this mini straight. And you just saw how Maxwell Fleerman is pulling away aggressively in these corners. And like you mentioned, Lemkool is trying to find it coming into the corners. He's trying to take it slightly later, a bit deeper on those brakes there. And you can see he gains the time. But unfortunately, Fostin is going to come with a penalty of slow out. And that's exactly what's happening to him, because every single corner exit is just a further extension for Maxwell Fleerman. He's practicing the opposite. Slow in, fast out. He's making sure he gets the rotation on the Porsche. He slams the throttle pedal early to make sure he gets the good run out. And the Porsche is very, very good at runouts of corners over here. And so Fleerman is abusing what he's got right now, and it's making it very, very difficult here for Lemkool to even put a nose up on the inside of Maxwell Fleerman.
Well, and I go back to Randy Pobst and how he would talk about why he was so good at street courses. Well, Randy comes from he comes from the world of autocross, and that's kind of what you're seeing here is, an autocross style of driving, as Cameron Cool gets out of the way of this battle for second place between Holman and Burns once again. In spite of losing the overall lead, they're still locked in battle here. Burns trying to catch up to Holman as they work their way towards the back straightaway, but either way, it's that slow in, fast out that you really need to get through some of these races.
Exactly, and they've been able to get through all of them now because we're on that final round here, and we haven't really had much of a street circuit calendar here from what we've seen. It's Long Beach has been our primary street calendar that we've got to experience, and I'm not going to lie to you, I wish we could have seen more, because the racing is very, very pristine. Not that it wasn't pristine on the other circuits, but I mean, man, the amount of close racing we're getting here. There's no runoffs for the drivers to try and push too hard. They've always got to be cautious of how they keep the car nice and controlled around track. And we're approaching that 30-minute mark ever so shortly. And then we head to that final 10-minute sprint that the drivers have got to endure to get towards the end, get across the checkered flag, and try and render as much points as possible for Joseph Holman and Ted Burns, who still has not been able to get past. Even through the hairpin where they made that slight error, there was no advantage gained for Ted Burns to try and get ahead of Holman, and it's replicated behind with Maxwell Fleerman and the likes of Carl Lemkool. And both of the teammates, Ted Burns and Carl Lemkool, just not able to get ahead of their competitors right now.
And it's only a matter of just trying to make opportunities happen. That's the big thing here on these street courses is if you want something done, you've got to make it happen. But either way, it's still an absolutely fantastic race. There's a little bit of light flashing there, so we have a replay here. Let's see what happens, and that is Speedy Dan Clark coming around. I have a feeling I know how this is going to end. Yep, hits the rumble strips there and just loses it.
Again, though, great job at keeping it out of the walls. I mean, that could have gone even further in the right. Oh, he joins the racing line, though. right in the dead smack middle, and that causes Jacob Harder to try and go find a diversion line. Fortunately, he's able to find one without meeting the wall, and Blake McGovern will get up ahead. So we'll get that student versus teacher battle yet again as Dan Clark scurries along to get back onto the pace he was running before his spin. But that is so unfortunate to see Dan Clark starting from the back, trying to climb. Unfortunately, it did not end up how he wanted it to end up. And this is another one. This is Cameron Cool. Maybe his second incident, maybe not. Maybe just a bit of a slow section through the hairpin. Up there, a little bit of a, almost into the wall there. He's managed to just keep it out though.
Well, I gotta say this about Dan: he can still flick a race car around when he makes a spin. So he still got that going for him, which is nice. Holman and Burns still in this battle for second place, and I think this is just going to be here all race long between the two of them as they're really working their way around. And here's the thing, though, Tristan, we have seen these two all season long. When they've been on track together, they have always found each other. It's almost like they have magnets that are attracted to each other.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about magnets. They almost just made that magnet noise that when you slam two magnets together. I hope you're getting my reference of that weird magnet noise, because it almost just happened with the two Porsches over here. Into the right-hander hairpin they go, and almost into the backside goes the likes of Ted Burns into the backside of Holman. So that could have been close. He has Blake McGovern now. He's lost out to the likes of Dan Clark already, it seems like. So where did Dan Clark get ahead? This is through the left-hander where Johnson has been, making all those overtakes. And there we see Dan Clark just converting it into the next right-hander, holds the inside line, and is able to get it ahead quite swiftly ahead of the student. I think he's spent a lot of time in the box and made sure that, he knows the student's lines. He knows where his student is going to, open up a gap, and he fortunately knows where to plant the car to get that advantage. But back up to the top, it is still Holman holding very, very tightly against the likes of Burns. And we are officially at the 30-minute mark now. 10 minutes left for Holman to hold off against Ted Burns. Can he do it? Or is he going to succumb to the pressure here and lose out on second position?
Well, here's the thing. Holman's been about 100th of a second slower than Burns. So it's just, there goes Burns to the inside as they rub once again, and he spins them. Oh, that is something you don't expect. You normally see here at Long Beach. So I guess, Holman backs it right into the wall as he goes around and gets back on the circuit. Oh, it sounds, that was just an interesting incident. I wonder, was it Burns just saying, you know what, let's just have some fun here, it's the last race of the season? Or, either way, the close racing, unfortunately, will come to an end with just under 10 minutes left to go.
Yeah, and that's a nice skew spoiler that you can see on Joseph Holman over there. He unfortunately reversed into the wall, forgetting that he's not on an open track with a bunch of grass runoff. And unfortunately, there's no grass on the tires, but the rear spoiler is unfortunately damaged. And there you can see the spin around. Ted Burns just completely pit maneuvering him and not giving him an option to change it up. The spoiler actually pops off there for Holman, but seems to magically reattach itself. That's good old iRacing netcode for you, but you can definitely see that it is skew. It does not look like the normal straight spoiler on that car. So Holman's got to try and control the car now for the rest of this race. But I mean, my goodness, Jeremy, 11 seconds of a gap already for Johnson. This man is a rocket ship.
He is, and I'm hoping that he gets a 17. Let's see if he can will that into existence. So he's trying to save his equipment, I would imagine, as Lemcool doing all he can to try and keep up to Fleerman for that bottom step of the overall podium. How quickly things can change. Of course, Dan Clark closing in on Jacob Harder once again, as well as Joseph Holman is into the pits. So Holman into the pits with, I would imagine, damage. I don't think it's going to be race-ending damage, but let's see what Clark can do here going into the hairpin as he closes in on Harder, but not going to make anything happen. Yes, he will take that dive to the inside. Talk about a textbook pass. You're going to go to the outside. You're going to park it, and I'm going to take that position back. But here's the thing. Harder closing in. He's not going to make it happen.
No, definitely not. But what a great move there for Dan Clark. Holman, as you can see, dropping off quite drastically now from that pit stop. And here we get a bit of a replay. This is Dan Clark. Obviously, the position he's just made on the inside line of Jacob Harter. And very, very textbook overtake, like you say. Huge lunge up on the inside. Harter went completely wide through that hairpin. And Dan Clark saw the opportunity, said, "Carpe diem, my friend," and moves up into the next position. Great move from Dan Clark to try and recover from the short spin he had a couple of laps ago. It's not going to be enough time for him to chase up into that top 5, I don't think, unfortunately. It's a long way up ahead on the road to get to Peter Mackay, and he's only got 7 minutes left of racing. But there is action out on track because Vleerman and Lemkool, this is a battle that's still progressing out on track. And with 7 minutes left to go, Vleerman has got a lot to hold on for here.
Yeah, Vleerman trying to modify snake down the front straightaway because he knows how close Lemkool is. He's closer. Look at that. I would say that's blocking right there, but I'm not a chief steward, so I can't really say that. Oh, hard hit. Oh, Lemkool slides into turn 1 and hits the part of the barrier that doesn't have tires. So let's see if that affects Lemkool just a little bit. And I have a feeling with as hard of a lick as that was, it will affect the car.
Yeah, well, the paint's definitely scrubbed off, which is never a lovely thing to see on liveries being scrubbed off due to the concrete walls. But obviously the functional side of things is the way more important part of it. And yeah, good little rear right-hand side tap there for Lemkool. And he might start to feel it. If we do see him completely losing out on pace here to Vleerman, then we definitely know he sustained damage on that corner. And it is too much damage to continue trying to push onto the backside of Vleerman. He's not going to lose out to Mackay. It's still 12.4 seconds down the road. And there you can see Mackay and Castillo now fighting. So Castillo's rejoined this battle. And he's now trying to get up into the top 5. And he's got some good odds for it. Only 3/10 behind Peter Mackay. And a bit further behind is Nate Warder, who is blipping slightly. But he is unfortunately in the back market territory and won't be in this fight up ahead.
And doing math, it's unless something happens to Mackay, it's just too big of a gap for Dan Clark to close in and get that other VIP win. But either way, like we said, we did the math for this in probability, and yeah, I mean the amount of wins that Clark has in VIP, just too much for Mackay to close in on. Here comes Vleerman once again, holding off Lemkool. So whatever damage that the 95 has incurred in that crash last time by is not affecting him too much. He's only lost out in a little bit of lap time, but works their way off of Shoreline once again. Vleerman doing what he can to keep the number 95 behind him. 419 over 95, and I believe that this would be win number 2 for Max Vleerman.
Yeah, win number 2 indeed. We've had him in the commentary box a couple of rounds here now for the Kellymoss KLÜB iRacing Championship, and hopefully we'll see him here again tonight because he's holding off quite strong there for the club members championship position. Obviously, Ted Burns and Carl Lemkool will be taking first and second in their classes if they remain where they are. So even if Lemkool gets this overtake on track, it's not going to change for his class, but it is still going to change for his overall point score. And he will move up into that podium spot, which is always a good feeling for a driver, especially after such a long race. Getting that podium is a very, very rewarding feeling. And again, you can see it just coming into the corners. Lemkool gets very close on the approach, but on the exit, it is up to the job of Vleerman. He just starts to pull away. There you can see it through that corner. Vleerman begins pulling away. Now into the next corner, he gets close yet again. But on the exit, it is the same thing over and over. Vleerman just better exit time after time from Lemkool.
That's all it takes around here is just get the better exit, get on the gas just a little bit sooner, and you can keep that gap open even if you are running a slower lap time. Mackay runs his fastest lap of the race at 19.205, so he knows what he needs to do, and he's going to try and do it, but really, if I'm Peter Mackay, I'm just not going to, push too hard and not worry about bending it, so that way you can bring it home. But this battle for third really still looking good between Lemkool and Vleerman. Still Vleerman in third, Lemkool in fourth. We just have a handful of laps left to go in this race. A handful of laps left to go in the season, and Johnson has opened up a 13.6 second lead. But once again, this is absolutely fantastic stuff out of these drivers.
Yeah, and Blake McGovern might also create himself a bit of an overtaking opportunity in the last 3 minutes. 5/10 behind Jacob Harder, and this could scale into something different if he's able to reduce that time in the next coming laps. And there you can see he has indeed been able to do it. We've seen the flash of the orange number. It's gone back up, though, to 7/10, unfortunately, as he's starting to lose grips around the track there. But the question is, I don't think Lemkool is going to be able to get past here. McGovern moves up ahead of Harter now on a courageous dive. That was from quite far back in terms of the timing tower stats. But in terms of where Lemkel sits for third position here, he's going to have to perform a miracle if he wants to get up ahead here of Fleerman, because it is a lot of work. Here is the overtake with Jacob Harder up in front. And again, hairpin, the same hairpin move there, just on the inside line for Blake McGovern. And he gets the overtake done and dusted with the better exit. Out of the hairpin, he will go running across the start-finish straight. And that's 1+ position for Blake McGovern.
Well, and we know that McGovern and Clark both on the same headset, so I'd imagine, or same radio channel, so I'd imagine that Clark kind of told him, yeah, here's what you do with Harder, just shove him a little high coming off of the hairpin. And once again, coming to complete, I think it'll be white flag this time by for Johnson, but 2 laps left to go in this race between Fleerman and Lemkel, 0.2 of a second. Let's see if Fleerman tries another snake move down the front straightaway, heading into that heavy braking zone in turn 1. I wouldn't say it's blocking this time. This time it's more of a defensive move, like good luck trying to get through there. And that front end at Lemkel got a little loose there through 1.
Yeah, a little loose indeed there for Lemkel. He's got to watch out for it, because what is the point of fighting here for third if you throw it all away towards the end of the race and, fall down the pack towards the point where Peter McKay catches up and moves up into 4th position. So Lemkel's got to weigh out his pros and cons there. He doesn't want to throw this race away just for 1 position gain, but that 1 position gained is also a spot on the podium. And so it's a very difficult decision, for Lemkel to make for for his car there, the 992, the number 92992. That is a play on words. Sorry, number 95, not number 92. But let's hope he can keep it going. Just about 30 seconds left of racing here in terms of the clock. Not too sure where Johnson is out on track right now, but eventually he's going to come across that start-finish line. And that is going to be at the racing done and dusted for this championship. But for the time being, it is still Lemkel on the backside of Fleerman.
Well, Johnson did pass the start-finish line for the penultimate time, so it will be checker flag this time by for the man who basically dominated. Fleerman and Lemkel still battling each other down the front straightaway. They're side by side. Lemkel has the advantage so far, but then again, Fleerman has the line going into turn 1. He's going to break a little bit deeper. Both on side by side through 1, heading through 2, and Lemkel takes that 3rd spot and moves into position ahead of Fleerman. That's exactly the pass he wanted. We'll talk about that in just a little bit, but Aaron Johnson once again walking away from the field. Can he make it 16 seconds out in front is Lemkel. Gets deep to the rear end of Fleerman. Not going to make it happen here as they work their way out of turn number 6. But this battle for third still heating up. Johnson coming around the hairpin. It's all Aaron Johnson all the time, as he's now well prepared for the Porsche Carrera Cup. So we'll stop here. He's your winner overall and in pro in the Kellymoss KLÜB iRacing Championship. Now we set our sights on this battle for third place between Lemkel and Fleerman. Here comes Burns down the front straightaway. He will win in the team championship for this round. Fleerman within a half a second, but he is going to take that 4th spot. Lemkel finishes off a 3rd. Fleerman, your club winner. We wait another 12 seconds for our VIP winner.
Yeah, and Peter McKay has had himself a great race here. It's been a slow and steady one in terms of fighting, and he really hasn't had much action out on circuit. But sometimes no action is good, because it just means you can focus on your own race. And Peter McKay comes across 5th position, 6th for Castillo. And now it's going to be Dan Clark on the backside of, I believe, Nathan Water up in front, the back marker car. And there they both come across the checkered flag line. It is now down to McGovern, Harter, and Holman, who's all the way back at the rear side. And very unfortunate to see Holman down there at the leg end of this race as he goes around the circuit. 4 more of it after that pit stop. He had to serve a couple of laps earlier, but there he officially comes across the checkered flag. And that is it. 32 laps done and dusted around Long Beach. And that is round 8, done and dusted for Kellymoss.
And of course, everybody doing donuts there in turn 1. You're not supposed to hit the wall when you do donuts, but hey, you know what? We've had some fun here this season, and great to see the drivers kind of let it all out for this final race of the season. Well, with that in mind, let's take a look at the unofficial race standings so far. As Aaron Johnson, once again, your winner. by 15.8 seconds. 10 points. Carl Leckel finished 1-2 in the team class tonight, with Max Fleerman, your winner in the club class as well. Then you've got Peter Mackay rounding out your top 5 throughout the field. Anthony Castillo, Dan Clark are 6th and 7th.
6th and 7th indeed. Then 8th position, Mr. Caleb Hermanson, the driver who won last time around, had a bit more of a standard race here down in 8th position. 9th for Blake McGovern after his 2 spins he had. Jacob Harder comes across in 10th, with Joseph Holman down at 11th after that spin-off and the back wing damage he got, the back spoiler. And Nathan Warder down in 12th, Cameron Cool in 13th. And unfortunately, Lonnie Unser not starting off this race, and down in 14th position. The last car on grid there for the Pro Championship. That is officially it, and we've got quite a couple of interviews ready to go. And I think for tonight we've got essentially almost everyone in our grid who's coming to have a chat with us, which is nice to see.
It is. Let's bring in our pro champ and overall champ for tonight, Aaron Johnsong. And look, dude, you challenged us. Congratulations. Halfway through, we could have just run 20 minutes, and just once you took the lead, okay, race is over. Aaron's our winner. So, but either way, congratulations.
Hey, thank you guys. Yeah, no, it was I had to be smart there. I mean, everybody was really aggressive, and no one was letting me through. That's for sure. So I had to make some pretty bold moves on my way up there. But that was a lot of fun with everyone.
Well, we mentioned during the broadcast several times, this is essentially a test session for you, because you guys will be running here with alongside the NTT IndyCar Series in April. So let's talk about going to a track that you have essentially never run.
I know. I mean, thankfully, I think most drivers on the grid haven't run it yet. I'm really excited to go there. It'll be a new experience for most of the drivers. Hopefully I don't have to start in the back and make my way through the field whenever we actually go.
Either way, it seems like anytime you were racing here, you were up at the front. Gotta say this, we unfortunately didn't see your buddies, your teammates, Luke, Riley, Mark, Tom. What do you say to them when you go up to them and go, hey guys, where were you this offseason?
I won't say a whole lot. I'll probably mess with Riley because me and him get on the sim quite a bit with each other whenever he is around. But I know he's had a string of busy weeks whenever this happened to be running. So I wish they would have joined, but I'm glad that we still had the attendance we did, especially in the finale. To have a few of the drivers show back up at the end was cool.
I told Victoria, I'm like, you know what? Maybe we should just put Riley in the booth. I mean, come on. He's got to do something. But either way, congratulations. A great run for you. And good luck this season. I don't know if we'll talk much this season, but great job, and we'll see you down the road.
Hey, I appreciate you guys. And thanks for not putting me in a GT4 in this race. I had to at least start in the back since you guys didn't make me do that.
I tried. Aaron Johnsong, your overall and pro winner right there. All right. It's all you. Who you got?
I'm going to bring up Mr. Maxwell Fleerman, our club member winner. Max, you are live in the commentary box here at Apex Racing TV. And let me just talk us through that. I mean, taking the win here for the final round at Kellymoss in your division. What was the racing like here around Long Beach?
Nice to take a win in the dry. Proves I'm not a one-trick pony, I'd like to think, but Joe will argue about the spin, and that's okay. He was really, really fast today. Our mflairman.com Exalta Porsche GT3R was so fast today. It felt great throughout the stint. Really, the tough part was just the hairpin. A lot of wheel spin kind of towards the end as the tires die out, but really great battle with Carl, too. Honestly, the only thing I would have wished is that me and Carl didn't have that contact into turn one, because otherwise I would have had an incident-free race, and I think that means I lost second place in the club championship, unfortunately.
Yeah, a couple of points unfortunately lost for not keeping it clean here. I was going to ask, what are you thinking for next round? But that's officially it. There is no more next round. So, I mean, if something like this pops up on the radar again from Kellymoss, are you jumping the gun and immediately joining in on the action again?
Well, I think the first thing is to actually get my B-class license on iRacing official races so I can go race these cars outside of these league races. As I said before, these are the only times I've ever driven this car on this game. I had to buy a bunch of these tracks for this. So I guess to answer your question, it really comes down to how many tracks I'm going to have to buy and if I have a B-class license by the time that the next league starts up.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. It's the good old world of iRacing. You've got to make sure that you've got the content before you're allowed to race. And We know lots of drivers who struggle with that one, unfortunately. But is there anything anybody you'd like to thank, or anything you'd like to mention before you head out the box?
Just a huge thanks to both Anthony and Joe in the club. They were really fantastic to race with. I try to live by the mantra of tough but fair, and those guys raced very tough but also very fair. Couldn't have faulted them really for any part of their racecraft. Also, big shout out to all the people that have watched this that are on my side of the fence. I know a lot of them don't talk in the chat, but I know there's a few folks watching who I really appreciate tuning in to support me as I've kind of climbed up over these last 8 or 9 weeks here.
Incredible stuff. Well, thank you so much for joining us this season. I hope to see you the next time around when this goes live again. And I hope you have a great night further. Congrats on the win.
Hey, thanks a lot, guys. I'm excited to potentially rejoin in the future.
Absolutely so. That was Mr. Max Fleeman. Back over to you, Jeremy.
Let's go to our VIP winner. And Peter, but on behalf of myself and Tristan, I've got to say thank you for making us sim racers actually look like competent wheelmen out there. Good job.
Oh, I'm not sure about that. I was just talking about how I had to jump out the way of the next superstar of IMSA, Aaron Johnson. I was like, sorry, I'm in the way.
Well, either way, if it makes you feel any better, your compatriot in VIP is a 3-time finisher in Long Beach, twice in Champ Cars, and you still beat him. So that's got to feel pretty good, at least.
But he started at the actual Long Beach and at the other end of it as well.
But hey, what if I told you a win's a win? Don't question it. Don't question it. Just be happy you got the win.
Well, I'm delighted I got the win because it's been such a fun season racing in this event. I don't do a huge amount of sort of iRacing, and I was so pleased to receive the invite from Victoria and Andy. And a huge shout out to them for putting all this on, because it wouldn't be possible without them. And they're just some of the nicest people you'll meet in racing. But no, it's been huge fun, and I have to say I love the paint that Jacob Harter created for me as well, which is a replica of the 1976 Watkins Glen winner. So that's where it.
Oh yeah, that's right. It was 76.
Yeah. So a huge thank you to Jacob, a huge thank you to Victoria for inviting me.
And of course, I've been talking back and forth with Victoria, and hopefully we're going to do this again. If we do, we've got to get you back out here, and we got to make sure that Ryan's not doing race notes for either IMSA or IndyCar too.
Yeah, we do. Last week I had to miss it because I was at an ABBA concert, but a virtual one. It's called ABBA Voyage, and they have holograms of ABBA. Yeah. So I was down in London, so I couldn't race, unfortunately. And the week before, I was in Spain golfing. I make myself sound like I've got strange hobbies, but golf and ABBA. But I had to make sure I was here for the last round, and golfing with ABBA, yes.
I was gonna say, yeah, it's that would be strange golfing with ABBA. But then again, I look at that. Okay, my hobby is I put on a microphone and I talk to a computer screen, so it's all good.
Yeah, well, we're all a bit crazy, aren't we? Yeah.
We wouldn't be doing this if we didn't. Hey, I'm sure I'll talk to you probably either this weekend or sometime down the road. But I just wanted to have you pop in and say congrats, great job, and we'll chat later.
Thank you very much for having me, and great job with the broadcast, guys. I've enjoyed watching them back. You've done a super job, and yeah, again, thanks to everyone at Kellymoss. And that Aaron Johnson guy, I think he's going places. I think he's quite quick. That's my expert opinion. Yeah, he's quite good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he started in MX5s, worked his way up. Yeah, Johnson's good. You know who to pass these broadcasts along to, bud. We'll see down the road. Good luck, bud.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.
All right, Peter Mackay, your winner in VIP. Let's go ahead and grab one more, Tristan.
Yeah, I'm going to grab Mr. Joseph Holman just to talk about that incident he had. Holman, you are live on the commentary box here at Apex Racing TV. It was all looking so well for you up until the incident you had there. I mean, just talk us through the hip and the conundrum you had at the end part of the race.
Honestly, I think it's just kind of classic Long Beach, It's just a tight corner. You can send it in there, and I guess that's what Ted wanted to do, and well, ended up facing up the other direction.
And I mean, in general, outside of that, how did the Porsche feel around Long Beach? We didn't really ask the other drivers how the car truly felt in the 40-minute stint.
It wasn't too bad. Just like most of the other races, it got a little understeery towards the middle and the end of that 40 minutes just from the light fuel load and tire wear on the front. I think that's just the natural causes of what happens with this car and how it's designed. But, overall, it's not too bad to drive around here. It's a great GT driving track.
And I mean, talk us through as well a bit with your battle that you had with Ted Burns the entire time. Was it a bit of like a constant defense, or was Ted Burns kind of holding back a bit, waiting for that moment to pounce?
I think he was waiting for that moment. I didn't really feel like I was throwing anything defensive necessarily. I mean, it's some of the parts where you can make a move here, it gets so narrow. Or if you want to make a move through a turn, you almost have to be side by side with them before. And that's really the only place where I think if you get lucky, you can get out of there, scot-free. And unfortunately, I ended up with some rear wing damage. I didn't want to necessarily jeopardize ruining the car anymore. So I just went in the pits and did a quick repair. I wasn't really in a battle for points, anything. This was more just out to go out and have fun and race. That's really what I did. What's that?
Yeah, absolutely true. But I mean, before you head out of the commentary box, is there anything you'd like to say? Anybody you'd like to thank?
I'd like to thank Kellymoss for holding up this league and everyone that's participating. Thank you guys for putting on a great broadcast throughout these last 8 weeks. I've had a lot of fun going back and watching them, and I hope I can come back. If there's another season, I'd like to come back and defend my title.
Yeah, I was just about to ask if another season were to spring up, would you jump the gun and be here again? But I mean, you've answered that question. So thanks so much again for joining us here tonight. Rather unfortunate on the results, but like you mentioned, it was more of just a fun race. Overall, though, you still had an incredible season.
Yeah, thank you guys.
100%. That was Mr. Joseph Holman for the last time here for the winter season.
Take a look at those points real quick, and I think we have those all set, done, and without drops. We're gonna find out, but let's see if they decide they want to load technology. All right, let's bring in who we believe is our VIP champion, Dan Clark. And Dan, that was, for somebody who's raced at Long Beach, that was not a bad race.
Not a bad race. Yeah, that was a bit rough, but it was good fun. All the guys are in the chat right now, so it was cool. Everyone had a good time.
Yeah, no, and that's what's most important. We had 13 cars start for this race. Of course, you were mired back in battle with Blake, Jacob, Joseph. So all in all, it was a really good showing. And if I'm doing my math correctly, which that's why I'm in the booth, I think after drops you will be the VIP champion.
Sweet. Yeah. It was I kind of knew skipping qualifying would be not a great idea for Long Beach, and then one lap in, and I had my Porsche Endurance Cup teammate right in front of me. I'm like, oh no, I can't do anything risky now. But he's fast.
Yeah. Let's talk about Porsche Endurance Championship, because this is the second season that in earnest that it will actually third season that it will be run as is, second as named a Porsche Endurance Championship. It's one pro and one regular from the Porsche Sprint Challenge. So yeah, it's essentially it's a neat little concept.
Yeah, Blake and I will be there next weekend at Sebring for the first race. One of my teammates, Yves Baltas, will be there in another car, and I think there's some names from a few years ago too. So I think it'll be fun just for even just the pros. Everyone's competitive, so everyone's eager to size everyone up.
It'll be a lot of fun. Yeah, that Sebring Endurance round, always a blast. And of course, obviously, when we get this started, hopefully we'll see you. And at some point, I think we'll run into each other this season, which should be a lot of fun.
Absolutely, guys. Thanks for putting all this on. It was a lot of fun. hopefully we'll catch you in another one. See you guys at the track.
Great chat with you, bud. Dan Clark, the VIP champion. Saw the points pop up, and unfortunately, Tristan, I think that technology is just going to win the battle of the night because it's not working. The hamsters aren't, they're not spinning.
Yeah, it seems like the hamsters have already put in their their back-end access cards. They saw the checkered flag. They're like, all right, yeah, we're done for the season. We'll be back next time around. But yeah, I mean, summary from this race, I'd still have to say, I mean, what a great race the drivers gave us here. And I mean, whether this was 6 cars on grid, 12 cars on grid, 13 like we had yet tonight, they still gave us the exact same show, replicated it word for word, and we got to see some amazing racing action all across our 4 divisions here, and a super, super exciting way to end our championship.
It really has, and really 8 races I think is just not enough, but at the same time, now Kellymoss gets set for racing, whether it's in IMSA, GT World Challenge, or into the Porsche Sprint Challenge. We'll see those cars up at the front no matter who's driving them, and it'll be an absolute blast to follow them throughout the season. And of course, stay tuned here because we could have some more racing, special races throughout the season. All season long, I want to thank Jim Cunningham for making us sound so good and look so good. Tristan, it's great to work with you, and let's run it back when we do another one of these races.
Absolutely. So we're definitely going to be back here once more once Kellymoss decides to come back. I'm crossing my fingers. I'm not saying if they come back. I'm saying when they come back, as I'm hoping that when the off season comes around, we'll get to see the same gold grid, maybe a couple more drivers chiming in here, and maybe a bit of GT3, GT4 multi-class action. That could be pretty cool to see some Caymans in the mix. And but excited to see what the future holds for Kellymoss.
Wouldn't even be upset to see some 963s. So as always, thank you for joining us on the Kellymoss channel. Always remember to keep it pointed forward. Keep it between the walls, not ditches today, and always keep it greasy side down. Enjoy the racing season, ladies and gentlemen. We'll see you next time on the Kellymoss channel.